At first, no one thought that day would turn into something special. The shooting location for the V-Type 2026 project had been prepared since early morning. Lights stood neatly in place, cameras were tested repeatedly, and the staff and cameraman readied themselves for a packed schedule as usual. It was a major project, of course, but the Korean entertainment world is accustomed to working with big names. There were no excessive expectations, no dramatic anticipation, until Kim Taehyung stepped into the room. He arrived without commotion, without a flashy entourage, without the overwhelming star aura that usually fills a set even before the cameras start rolling. Taehyung came as himself, calm, polite, and almost quiet. And yet, from that very quietness, something began to shift. The staff and cameramen of the V-Type 2026 project slowly realized that the day would not unfold like any other shoot. From the moment he stepped onto the set, Taehyung did not immediately stand at the center of the room or wait for instructions. He walked slowly, his eyes sweeping across the space, observing the reflection of light on the floor, the corners of the walls, and the shadows cast by the studio lights. One cameraman later recalled the moment with a small smile. He didn't ask what he was supposed to do. It was like he was listening to the room first. That impression lingered. Kim Taehyung was not merely there to be photographed, he was there to understand. When the cameras were finally ready and the lights fully turned on, Taehyung did not pose right away. He paused for a moment, took a slow breath, his shoulders relaxing slightly as his posture adjusted to the surrounding atmosphere. There were no grand movements, no exaggerated expressions, yet when the camera shutters began to click, every shift in expression felt complete, fluid, and deeply intentional. A staff member from the V-Type 2026 project said, "We're used to directing models. That day, we ended up following Taehyung's rhythm instead." What left the staff and cameramen in awe was not only the powerful visual results, but the way Taehyung commanded the space. He knew when to move, and more importantly, he knew when to be still. In a world of photo shoots often filled with rapid instructions and time pressure, Taehyung introduced a different rhythm, slower, deeper, and profoundly sincere. A senior cameraman who had worked in the industry for many years said, "There are people who are great because they're always in motion, but Taehyung is different. He's great because he understands that silence can speak too." In the middle of the V-Type 2026 shoot, while the set was being rearranged and some of the staff were busy adjusting the lights, Taehyung didn't step away like most models would. Instead, he approached the camera monitor. He studied the shots closely, not to evaluate himself, but to feel the story behind the images. He asked simple yet incisive questions about the mood, the emotion, and what the project wanted to convey to its audience. "If we stay in this moment just a little longer, it might feel deeper," he said softly. According to one staff member, it wasn't an instruction nor a demand, just an observation. Yet when the suggestion was tried, everyone could see the difference. The resulting photos felt more alive, more honest, as if they were holding a breath within them. From that moment on, the atmosphere on set changed. There was no more sense of rushing, no pressure to chase a certain number of shots. Everyone worked with the same awareness. They were creating a moment that mattered. It felt like we were making art, not just content, one V-Type 2026 staff member said with clear admiration. There was one moment that people talked about most after the shoot ended. When the camera was ready, the lights perfectly set, and everyone waiting, Taehyung stood still. He didn't move. He didn't pose. Seconds passed in silence. No one told him to do anything. And when the camera shutter finally clicked, that image became one of the strongest results of the entire project. "He knew," a cameraman said quietly. "He knew that even stillness could be a statement." The day ended without loud applause or cheers. Instead, it was the warm silence that lingered in the room that served as the most honest proof. The staff packed up the equipment with a different feeling in their hearts. The lights were turned off one by one. Taehyung thanked everyone sincerely, one by one. Before leaving, he gave a small bow, a simple gesture that left a deep impression. After he left, the room didn't immediately return to its usual noise. Some staff members remained seated in silence. Finally, a cameraman spoke up. "We thought this would be just another shoot. Turns out, we just worked with someone who truly understands the meaning of a moment." For many in the industry, this experience wasn't surprising. Sejin Kim, BTS's longtime manager, has often shared in private conversations that Taehyung's presence in front of the camera is extraordinary. In past discussions, Sejin Kim once said that Taehyung doesn't try to dominate the frame, he simply exists within it, and somehow the camera responds naturally. That remark now felt even more real through the VTYPE 2026 project. Taehyung is not just a global idol or visual icon, he is a visual artist who understands space, rhythm, and silence. He understands that art is not always about standing out the most, but about being fully present. One VTYPE 2026 staff member concluded their story with a simple yet meaningful line. "Working with Taehyung reminded us why we fell in love with this job in the first place." The conversation about Kim Taehyung did not end when the VTYPE 2026 project officially wrapped. After the shoot, small stories began to circulate quietly among the staff and cameramen, shared in soft, respectful tones. Not because of any grand gestures, but because of how he did very little and yet left such a profound impact. One member of the art team revealed that working with Taehyung made the entire crew more aware of small details often overlooked. They said, "We became more sensitive to light, to the distance between movements, even to pauses." In the fast-paced entertainment industry, pauses are often seen as wasted time. But with Taehyung, pauses became an essential part of the creative process. The cameramen felt the same way. One said, "Normally, we work hard to chase the moment, but with Taehyung, it felt like the moment already existed. Our job was simply to capture it." They added that Taehyung possesses an exceptionally strong body awareness, as if he instinctively knows how the camera breathes with him. What made it even striking was that all of this happened without arrogance. Taehyung never placed himself above the staff. He listened attentively, nodded gently when concepts were explained, and responded with empathy. This attitude dissolved rigid hierarchies and made the set feel equal. A junior crew member admitted, "It feels safe to share ideas. He genuinely listens." Sejin Kim's words came up again in casual staff conversations. One cameraman said with a soft laugh, "Now I understand what manager Sejin meant. Taehyung's talent doesn't shout, it whispers, but it carries far." Taehyung didn't see the camera as something to conquer, but as a dialogue partner. The exchange was subtle, almost invisible, yet strongly felt in every final image. Even after the project ended, he didn't leave behind an untouchable image. He asked staff if they were tired, praised their work, and made them feel seen, not as background, but as people. When the final results of the VTYPE 2026 project were revealed, many staff members smiled quietly. They remembered the silence, the stillness, the shared awareness. Those photos were not merely beautiful, they carried feeling within them. In an industry obsessed with speed and sensation, Kim Taehyung's presence served as a gentle reminder. Art does not have to be loud to be powerful. Charisma does not always need to be displayed. Sometimes, silence speaks the loudest. As the project came to a close, one VTYPE 2026 staff member summed it up simply. "We didn't just photograph Kim Taehyung, we learned from him. And perhaps that is his greatest legacy. Not just images that endure, but a changed way of seeing. Taehyung walked away the same way he arrived, calm, polite, without excess noise. Yet the space he left behind was never truly empty. It was filled with awareness, respect, and the understanding that true art is often born in silence. No one thought that day would be special. It was just another shoot for the VTYPE 2026 project. Lights were ready, cameras were tested, the schedule was tight, everything felt routine. Until Kim Taehyung walked in. No noise, no grand entrance, just calm, quiet presence. He didn't rush to pose. He didn't ask for direction. He looked around, listening to the room, to the light, to the silence. When the cameras rolled, there were no exaggerated moves, only intention. Every breath, every stillness. The staff stopped directing. Instead, they followed his rhythm. At one moment, Taehyung stood completely still. No pose, no movement, just silence. And when the shutter clicked, that image became the strongest shot of the entire project. Later, BTS manager Sejin Kim once said, "Taehyung doesn't try to impress the camera. He simply exists, and the camera falls in love." That day ended without applause, only quiet respect. Because true art doesn't need to be loud. Sometimes silence speaks the loudest.